Ludwig Goransson. The film Creed is almost like a reinterpretation of the film Rocky.
Mhm.
Can you talk about, as a composer, how you approach the score for it?
Well, one of the first thing I did was talking with the director about his take on it, and we really wanted to tell Creed's story. I really wanted to make something new and unique and really develop Creed's character so I think there's a lot of expectations on working on a movie with such a franchise with such a legendary score.
Mhm.
And I think when I was starting to score the movie, and then it's like having the permission from the director to start on a clean slate just really was a really good way to start.
Mhm. Let's talk about where the theme came from, because it recalls in a lot of ways Bill Conti's iconic score, and yet it's its own original creation. So, can you talk about how you started, where the theme come from?
Well, the theme that turned into be Adonis' theme
Mhm.
came from that was originally written as a love theme for Adonis and Bianca.
Mhm.
And it came from me. And if you go if you think about the movie, and there's a scene where they have the first date in the restaurant, they're eating and they're having the first date, and that transitions into the graveyard scene with Rocky, and that's the first time you hear Adonis, the love theme, and it's me humming it. I'm actually singing it through a vocoder and using an autotuner and vocoder. I'm singing the melody, and Ryan, the director, really loved that theme, and it was also my favorite theme. So I later on just tried different variations of this theme and put it with big brass and put it in with the orchestra, and it just turned into this heroic big theme for Creed.
Mhm. And you use it a lot during the movie. I mean, there's tons of training montages and fight scenes. Can you talk about, as a composer, just having all of these you know great moments to work with?
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I was like thinking like, can I use this theme again? Like I already had it like 40 times. But I think what's so fun with just this theme, and then as a composer, is just like how much you can play the variations of it, and
Mhm.
and because also Creed is Adonis, he's going through so much different things and emotions, and it really opens up the way the music and the theme can sound.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's really intimate with just me, my humming voice, and then sometimes in the big training montage it goes into it's eight brass players playing it.
Mhm. And there's a lot of different layers to this story. I mean, on the surface, it's a boxing movie, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of you know fathers and sons and surrogate fathers and sons. And there's some romance to it. Can you talk about expressing that musically?
Uh, I think yeah, I think if you if you watch the movie, like almost the first half of the movie, the score hasn't really gotten its real shape yet. It starts kind of like more ambient and a bit more disillusional, as
Mhm.
when you can feel like Adonis doesn't really know where he belongs, and I feel like the score, I'm really trying to just tell the story that Ryan's telling with Adonis' character.
Mhm. And of course, there's also an original song in this film that you wrote as well. Can you talk a bit about that?
I wrote a bunch of original songs. I wrote all
um,
the Bianca songs. You mean?
I'm sorry.
Do you refer to the Bianca songs?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so uh, so those were some songs I wrote before they started shooting the movie. So
Mhm.
they casted Tessa Thompson as Bianca, and and she came to my studio, and we had about 7 days to write all these songs that she's going to perform live on set. And it was really fun, and also a little bit stressful, because only having a couple, like 7 days to create the sound for a totally new up and coming artist is challenging.
Mm-hmm. So we talked earlier about the influence of the first film, and obviously Bill Conti's iconic score. Were there any other, was there anything else that influenced you? Any other kind of, not necessarily previous music, but
I think I was always, I mean, I think something that Bill Conti did really well in the original Rocky movies was how he kind of came. He had this classical and this jazz sound that I would believe that he schooled in both classical and jazz.
Mm-hmm.
But then what he did that what made the music so successful, that he brought this modern element like the disco drums under it,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's for me that was inspiring, and it was like that was also something that I wanted to do. I have the big traditional orchestra and also some kind of a jazzy chord structures on there, but then I also incorporate like a modern electronic, or like hip hop, like low bass drums under there, and percussion to just make it more contemporary.
Once you have the score written and you start putting it all together, and you have it in front of an orchestra, can you talk a bit about that, and tweaking it just a bit? And
well, I was very lucky to be able to record the score in LA.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, the first couple of talks we had with the studio was I didn't think it was going to become this kind of orchestral beast that it became.
Mm-hmm.
Because I worked with the director for a couple of years, and I mean, we haven't done anything in this big, so we never really had the budget to do live orchestra or live musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's, I would say any film composer's the best part of their job is to have their music that they've been writing for months on computer, and you had it mocked up, and you had the MIDI sketches, and you've been listening to these fake instruments playing my music all the time, to just go in the studio, and especially to be doing it in LA with these great musicians, it's just that's kind of like a dream coming through, and the whole experience, and the musicians, and yeah, just hearing everything come to life was just probably my favorite part of the whole process.
Can you talk a bit more about working with Ryan Coogler? Because I mean, you two have worked together previously, and this is a much bigger film for you guys. So what does he give you as a director that helps you in your composing?
I think with Ryan, we worked together for about 7 years, and I've done 3 of his short movies and his other feature, which is Fruitvale Station, and this is our second feature together. And it's the best thing about it, working with Ryan, is just that we're just good friends, so we can work, but it just feels like we're just hanging out, and you're just hanging out like two old buddies just hanging out, but we're actually doing work, and we're always being creative when we hang out and when we talk, and we can also just be having breakfast, and we're just like, it feels like we're working. But he's a really good leader, and he's just he has such a good taste in music too, and he knows he doesn't play an instrument, but he doesn't need to. He's just so good with words and explaining what it is he wants, and he's so confident in what he wants, and that kind of person, working with a person like that, just makes you really want to take the extra step into really challenging yourself even more, and then like make him more, try to impress him more, and try to make him really excited. That really motivates me.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on the film.
Thanks so much.
Welcome. Have a good day.
Oh, you too.
Bye.
Bye.